do. So if it's something you manufacture, it's a process. If it's a service you deliver, it's a process. It's no different. Currently, our system is made up of just over 850 documents. We have 251 procedures, 209 work instructions, and 309 related forms. And basically, procedures, just to give you a quick overview, procedures are operating procedures are documents which are high level, which generally describe how in our case, a service is to be performed. Work instructions are a little more nitty-gritty, day-to-day detail about how tasks are completed, and then the forms just relate to any related forms in the system. But they're all controlled electronically through our Intellect system. We've been with Intellect now for since 2003, since 2003, and believe you me, it has been a real godsend. And we have a very large system, we have a very complex system. Prior to 2003, we maintained 27 sets of binders corporately. So every time there was a document changed, even to one piece of paper, we had to change it globally in 27 locations. You can imagine what a daunting task that is. So the Intellect system has been a real godsend for us to maintain our system, and we really push the envelope as well with the Intellect system. So not only does it house and maintain all our quality documentation, but we also use it for one-stop shop for things like bylaws that are passed, corporate policies. We use it for maintaining and housing manuals. We use it for everything from letterhead, fax cover sheets, logos, you name it. So it becomes the place to find documentation. And in the past few years, we've even started to use it for housing. In fact, right now we have over 10,000 scanned engineering drawings in the system, which are all searchable through the Intellect system. Basically, it makes it much more easier for staff in the engineering department to find things, and because it's indexed, the searches are very fluid and very easy to find, and basically it ensures that we don't have to keep the big honkin' map holders in the back room, which used to hold all of these things. So it's all electronic now, which is wonderful. And certainly one of the basis of quality and basis certainly of ISO is sort of what they call the process approach to quality. And so what I've provided today, I know it's probably really hard for you to see, but what I've provided today is just one example of a process that we've implemented at the town of Ajax. And this is our process for deploying corporate policy and procedure. But the whole idea behind this, and what I really want to sort of emphasize here, is the fact that there's the individual players in a process are identified, and that's shown on the left-hand side of the process map, where you see where the staff interplay with department heads, who interplay with the committee coordinator, council, management, and then specifically office of the CAO staff. So you see clearly the process from beginning to end. The process being mindful to the customer, and also where the decisions are made with the diamond-shaped images within the thing. So again, it's that whole process approach, and it's not just something that's done within a department. It's extra departments. So it involves players like council, it involves players in other departments, and really that's where improvements can often be made using the process approach in a municipal setting to say, you know, why does it go to so and so in payroll? Well, maybe we've always done it that way, and of course that's not always the most effective means of doing things. So we want to cover off just some of the challenges that we've had in rolling out a quality management system, and I don't think we would be unique in saying any of these things. This would apply to any firm, regardless of whether or not you're a municipality or not. Certainly one of the things that's key in terms of making a quality system stick is having buy-in from senior management. And, you know, I can't tell you how many different conferences and whatnot that I've been to, and from some pretty major corporations who implement quality systems, and they basically say, if you do not have buy-in from the top, your quality system will die. And that couldn't be any more any more truth. And I know that's certainly our situation, our case in the town of Ajax. Staff need to see that there's buy-in, that there's understanding, and that there's commitment to quality right from the top. And when you have that commitment from the top, people tend to fall in line when it comes to quality. But having said that, in terms of getting buy-in from staff at the below senior management, you need to involve them, and it's not something that's just going to magically happen. You need to involve them in terms of getting their buy-in from asking them what works what works for them. What kind of improvements would they make? And when people, when you start asking those questions and people begin to provide you with that information, they automatically buy in because they have a stake in it. The process of rolling out a QMS at a municipal level, and in any setting, but certainly from my perspective, at a municipal level, it is complex. There's that. In fact, that's the biggest part of in terms of timing and resource is documenting your procedures and getting the process right. And in order to do that, you need to really strictly monitor it so that you don't, so that it doesn't come off the rails, that it's done in a timely fashion, that people aren't losing interest. And so again, it's a real symphony that needs to happen. And what we did at the town of Ajax is we had a steering committee that really steered the whole process to ensure that all of the corporate documentation was in place. And when I mean corporate documentation, that's the documentation that applies to everybody for things like purchasing, customer feedback. Those kinds of things are considered corporate. And then, of course, all of the detailed documentation that's required at the departmental level. Certainly the time required to write, review, and approve all required documentation. And here's an example of where you can get tremendous buy-in from staff. Way back when we implemented ISO in 1995, I was in the planning department, and so as a staff member in the planning department, I was required to write the documents and to document the processes that I was intrinsically involved in. They weren't written by my superior. They weren't written by the director. They were written by me. And the whole idea behind that, and the thought behind that, is if I'm going to document something that I'm going to be responsible for, I'm going to do a much better job, and I'm going to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed because I have a stake in it. Because I'm going to have to follow this process every day. So there's real power and there's real value in having staff document the processes they're going to be responsible for. They can certainly be reviewed by somebody else or from somebody higher up, but you need to have them do the documentation initially. And of course, that all takes time. And certainly within the quality system, there's a lot of cross-references between documentation. So again, it's making sure that those cross-references are sound and that they're all in place so it becomes a cohesive system. Developing and implementing training, really key. And that was one of the things that I alluded to earlier when I said we did it quickly, we did it in 14 months. But if there was one criticism I would have to say, and to be honest about our system, was that we probably should have spent more time on developing and implementing training, and it's not just about how do you write a procedure, how do you deliver this service, but it's also training in terms of why are we implementing a quality system? What are the benefits to our customer? What are the benefits to staff? Why is this going to be a good thing for you to come into work every day and follow? So again, those kinds of things are really important, and you really can't put a value on them. And again, involving all employees. So not just having, involving staff in documented procedures, but also having employee recognition along the way to say, we're doing a great job, and then measuring and, of course, monitoring the system to say, yeah, we've implemented this, we've made these changes, and we can actually prove that our customers are more satisfied. So there's a variety of ways of doing that. So certainly, we talked about, one of the last bullet points was the relationship between a streamlined quality management system and improved business performance. And some of the things that we've been able to see, to sense, and as well, and most importantly, measure, are increased efficiencies in service delivery. And one of the things, we talked about the STARS program, the fact that it was a cost management system, and we know, based on documenting those cost savings and those efficient way of doing things, has built-in savings as we moved along. We've never actually taken the time to say, well, how much money has that saved? Because that can be a bit of a daunting task. But we know that there are inherent cost savings in doing things more efficiently and doing things consistently. And certainly the customer comes to know and appreciate the fact that every time they come to the counter at our recreation department, their application for their child for swimming lessons will be handled and will be dealt with in exactly the same way every time. So it's very, very valuable. Certainly, as I mentioned, cost reductions in doing that. It's a consistent delivery of service. at all levels of the organization. You know, so whether it be registration for a swimming lesson, picking up garbage in the parks, you know, applying for a marriage certificate, applying for a zoning bylaw amendment, it doesn't matter. That consistency is there. Those documented procedures are there, and they're done and followed consistently by all staff. Certainly improved accountability to the customer, and you know, again, we're very transparent organization and a municipality, and you know, it's no secret to our constituents that we do have a quality system in place, and why it's of benefit to the residents of the town of Ajax. And we've actually asked in customer polls whether or not they felt that the quality system, our ISO registration, was in fact something that was valued by our residents, and something we continue to do, and it's always been a resounding yes. I think 96% of residents, last time we asked that question, said that yes, it was something that that we should continue doing. Certainly sends a strong marketing message as well as a municipality to say, you know, we want to be accountable. We want to run our businesses in a transparent fashion and be responsible and run efficiently. And I think government a lot of times takes a bad rap that way, and you know, and so we try to be the best we can, and this is certainly one tool in which we do that. And certainly makes for a great working environment for staff. Certainly we see this time and time again when we have new hires. In fact, sometimes people apply specifically to the town of Ajax because they know we're ISO registered and want to work in that environment. But it's a great working tool in the sense that staff know exactly what's required from them by following the documented procedure that they're responsible for. But having said that, if they have any improvements they like to see, or any improvements that we receive as a result of customer feedback, we implement those as well. So to wrap up here very quickly, as a municipality, what can ISO do for you? Certainly it provides a framework for delivering consistent and effective services by having documented procedures for basically everything that service you deliver. Provides a method of identifying problems and making corrections that stick. And really that, you know, what's known in the standard as the corrective action process is huge. It's one thing to have a system that works today, but perhaps tomorrow, because of changes in requirements, changes in legislation, changes in customer requirements, you need to be fluid, you need to be flexible, and you need to have a way to fix problems, and most importantly, fixing them so they don't reoccur. Quality and ISO provides a method of evaluating processes to eliminate waste and increase efficiency, and all of our documentation that's maintained in the Intellect system is prompted for a minimum annual review. However, of course, documentation can change more often than that if need be, but at a very minimum, documents are looked at critically to see whether or not they're running efficiently, effectively, and that customer satisfaction is being maintained and achieved. And lastly, providing a tool to monitor your system and to keep it current and alive. You know, quality is not something that that is a plaque on the wall. It's not something that sits in a binder on a shelf. It's something that staff it needs to become part of the culture, and that staff live and breathe. And certainly we've been able to do that through ISO, through our documented procedures, and certainly maintained through the Intellect system. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thanks, David. What we're going to do is open it up to questions now. So I see we've had a couple questions come in, but if you do have any questions, just use that questions tab there in your GoToMeeting panel and submit them. But yeah, we've got a couple questions in here, so I'll get it going with the first one here, David. Can you suggest any key